hang on, Serge. Before we get into it, Kathy is here with a few words.
We here at Petanque Points Podcast send our best wishes and caring thoughts to those caught up in the terrifying bushfires around the state and country, particularly to Tim and Glenn of the Grampians Club and all club and community members. Take care, bonne chance, and cheers.
Hi, this is Rex, arriving on your device for the first time in 2025. Unless, of course, you've listened to a previous episode already this year. Anyway, moving on. We've got some time-sensitive announcements. A few dates, too. Petanque in the Olympics at last? Really? Also, a couple of petanque records. One very close to home and very recent indeed. How to play on inclement weather days? We have an answer. Our rules segment fires up. A fantastic trip to Kyoto. And again, 1 minute coaching. And of course, a champagne facts. So, hang on, here we go. Did you hear that? Here it is again. You may think that's just another bit of bull-on-bull action, but that in fact is a one only, never to be beaten Australia and world record. It is the first recorded karoo of the year 2025. Yes, but within a few seconds of the beginning of the New Year's Day 2025, Louis Tatouille made this incredible shot, karooing the bull just as the last chimes of midnight had died away with the fireworks exploding in the background. This obviously could never be beaten. It is outstanding in its boldness, creativity and craftsmanship, and will hopefully inspire others to greater things. Thanks, Louis. Still on the 2025 bit, here are some timely reminders to put in your calendar. The National Championships Australia will be held at Novi Gardens Petanque Club in Adelaide, as previously advised over the Easter long weekend, April 17 to 21. The Coonawarra Classic Clash Petanque Tournament returns to Australia's most renowned wine region in 2025. And that's Saturday the 8th of February to Sunday 9th of February. Held at The Piste in Coonawarra Park, the sounds of clashing steel balls, screams of delight, and the clink of wine glasses will echo around the Coonawarra township. Registrations may already be full, but why not join over 45 teams to taste some of Australia's best wine over the 2 days of competition? On Sunday the 2nd of February, the Vic Championships Triples will be held at Camberwell Petanque Club. This club is also hosting the Vic Singles Championships Sunday, April 1. Trans-Tasman 2025 is in Christchurch, New Zealand, Friday the 14th of March to Sunday the 16th of March. L'International 2025 Queensland Gold Coast, Saturday 31 May to Sunday the 1st of June at the Burt Swift Community Centre, Nerang. Is that right? Oceania Championships 2025 will be held Thursday the 16th of October to Sunday 19th of October at Wallace and Fortuna. And that's not Wallace, near Ballarat. Petanque will be making its debut as an Olympic sport at the 2026 Summer Youth Olympics in Dakar. Although the Confédération Mondiale des Sports de Boules, which was created in 1985 by several international boules organisations specifically for this purpose, has been lobbying the Olympic Committee since 1985 to make it part of the Olympic Games. Petanque has appeared in every edition of the World Games from 1985 onwards. The 2022 World Games in the United States included women's petanque, First time that only women's events were held as part of the Bull Sports program at the World Games. That item came from Wikipedia, and I have not fact-checked the article. It's more fun to put it out there and see what responses we get. Despite what you may have read or heard earlier this year, we are now advised there will be no new rules for either the Precision Shooting Championships or the sport in general from the FIPJP, as they have decided to only make changes every 4 years. However, I wouldn't be surprised if that was reconsidered after the kerfuffle that came about with Diego Rizzi, with his back foot clearly on and over the ring when competing in the Precision Shooting Championships recently. FIPJP state as long as the player's foot is not touching the circle when he throws the bull or before the thrown bull has landed, it is okay. The European CEP Umpiring Commission proposed to change the rule to make it very clear that both feet must be inside the circle and not on or hanging over it. I look forward to seeing this outcome. Andrew and Viv Markham hail from the Malden Petanque Club in Victoria. In 2024, that's now last year, they spent 2 months, November and December, enjoying the autumn of Japan. Naturally, they had packed their bulls and were on the hunt for some quality petanquing, and it seems they got it.
Good morning, Rex.
Good morning, Viv. How are you?
I'm very well.
Viv's got a wonderful story to tell about being overseas in Japan to play petanque. Of all places in the world, Viv, why did you choose Japan?
Why did we choose Japan? Look, we love Japan. This is our third trip back to Japan. We were spending 6 weeks in one place.
November, December? That's not cherry blossom time.
Absolutely not, no. Because we really wanted to go to Japan in the off-tourist season. That's the reason why we chose to go in autumn. And because we were in one place for 6 weeks, we thought, oh, this is a good opportunity to play petanque.
So did you take your own bulls with you?
Of course, yeah. And we travelled before. We've played petanque in France where we just chuck our bulls in. I mean, 3 bulls weighs less than 3 kilos. That's not a lot.
Right.
Before we left, Andrew wrote to the Petanque Federation of Japan and said, look, we'll be in Kyoto for 6 weeks. What are the chances of us getting a game? And they very kindly linked us up with a club in Kyoto.
Right.
So Kyoto would be a city of probably around 1 million people, and there are about 20 clubs in Kyoto.
Were you aware of petanque clubs before you contacted the Japan Federation?
We had a fair idea that there would be petanque clubs all over Japan because quite a few years ago when we were travelling there, we got lost. And we, in a little village, we couldn't find our way back to the station, believe it or not. Right. And we ran into a couple of guys in a car park who were playing petanque, and we sort of made it known to them that we could play petanque as well. And they said, oh, come and join us. So we had a game of petanque with them.
Local people, were they?
Yeah. And then they very kindly drove us to the station afterwards.
Oh, how excellent.
This is one of the joys of travelling in Japan. People are very helpful and very friendly and very polite.
And you're absolutely fluent in the Japanese language?
Not at all. Andrew has a few phrases.
Right.
There was one chap in the Kyoto Petanque Club that we played with, a chap called Masami Yasuda, who was quite fluent in English, and he sort of eased the way for us, I suppose you could say. But let's face it, I mean, sport's a universal language.
Indeed.
You don't really have to know much in the way of another language when you're playing a sport. You know, basically you have to know how to count from 1 to 6 in Japanese. That's about it.
The games you got involved with the locals there, were they just social games or did you get into a competition of sorts?
They were social games.
Yep.
We were more or less coming along on their practice days. We played with them on a Saturday and a Sunday, and there were other days that they played.
Yep.
But we figured twice a week was plenty for us. We had to wait, I think it was a week or two for the start of their season. So they don't play all year round.
Right.
Their summers are very hot and very humid.
Yep.
So they start playing in late autumn and they play throughout the winter months.
Oh, my goodness.
When it can get quite cold, it can snow in Kyoto.
If you went off-season, that's snow season, and finding a pool in the middle of snow could be a bit difficult.
Yeah, it wasn't that cold. So when we arrived, we were wearing summer clothes. When we left, we were wearing something a little bit warmer.
Sure.
But the Japanese have just been through their hottest summer ever on record. Their climate is changing as well.
Sure.
The autumn leaf season, which is very big in Japan, that was delayed in 2024 because of global warming, and they're so keen on autumn leaves in Japan that they have a special website.
Oh, really?
Which shows the progress of the autumn leaves down through the islands, and people consult that website and then they'll book a holiday in a particular place to go and see the autumn leaves. And Kyoto is one of the places that has the most beautiful autumn leaves in Japan.
So you hit it right at the right time by the sounds of things.
Well, no, because the leaves were only changing just before we left in early December, and they should have changed in mid-October. So you've got some idea of how much warmer last year was.
I'm with you.
Yeah, so we played in beautiful weather.
Are these in clubs like we have here, and are the clubs very large?
I can really only talk about the club that we played with.
Yep.
So they seem to have about maybe 40 or 50 members. They didn't all come on a particular day, so we saw a lot of new faces each time we played, as well as some familiar faces.
Mm-hmm.
They shared the area they played on, the piste, with a group who play a game there called Gateball.
Okay.
Which I know nothing about. And there was no club room.
Mm-hmm.
There were some public conveniences not far away, and the piste was situated in the grounds of the Imperial Palace.
Oh, wow.
Which is this huge area in Kyoto. It's about a kilometre long by about, 800 metres wide. It's all beautiful gardens and, 500-year-old trees, and then it's got the palace, which you can actually go and look at. So it was a pretty special place to play.
A little bit intimidating, could put you off your game. What were the pieces like themselves?
Absolutely quite different to anything we've ever played on. So they're smooth. They're a sort of a sand base.
Right.
Which is what most playing fields in Japan are. Because it rains so much, they need something that drains really well.
I'm with you, yeah.
So if you're walking past a school ground, for instance, the playing fields there will be this sort of very flat, sandy surface.
Sure. Does that affect the way that they have evolved their playing techniques?
Wow, they're absolute demons for shooting. We were just really taken aback. We thought that the Japanese game would be very subtle,
Yep.
But no, they just shoot at every available opportunity. So you can do a great point.
Yep.
And because of the surface, it is quite easy to point. There's no little bits of gravel to sort of send the ball off course. But the minute you've got something that's, 3 inches away from the kosh, they'll shoot it out.
I know how frustrating that is.
That's right. And they somehow or other got it into their heads that Andrew and I were shooters. So they kept on telling us to shoot. Or the word that they used was tirer, the French word for shooting.
Yep.
So that's sort of part of their Petanque vocabulary. A very different surface to play on.
How did you fare in your games against the local establishment?
We sort of held our own. Their club was like any other club. There was sort of a whole spectrum of players, and we were probably somewhere in the middle. So we were quite happy with our game, and they were quite happy with us. I mean, they were such friendly, welcoming people. They were wonderful.
That sounds absolutely brilliant. What about rules? Were there any major differences in the game itself?
The rules were the same, but once again, there was a difference in that we thought that they would be fairly pedantic about, marking the circle and marking the kosh and all that. We thought that they'd get, a bit pernickety about it. The Japanese they're pretty pedantic and straight down the line about most aspects of their lives, but they were totally relaxed. So they weren't marking the kosh, keeping score of the game was, okay, we'll keep the score maybe, but if not, doesn't matter.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, quite different.
And very sociable by the sound.
Very sociable.
Yeah.
So they all sort of turned up on their bikes because they all ride bikes in Kyoto because it's very flat terrain and there's just nowhere to park a car anyway.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Like some of the players would have been knocking on 90, but that's okay. They still rode their bikes there.
Wow.
And we caught the bus.
All right, yep.
And there was also a train as well. So I think the first time we came, we caught the train, and then after that we caught the bus to get there. Mm-hmm. And then you all turn up, and then Masami, he was sort of like the unofficial sort of captain, I suppose you could say, the organiser. So he had a bunch of marked chopsticks. Everybody drew a chopstick, so that was a random draw. And then and if you drew a 4, well, you played with this guy over here because he'd already drawn a 4 and she'd drawn a 4, so that was a triple. So that was an unusual way of starting off the game, I suppose you could say.
Brilliant, almost like bulls in the bucket or bulls out of the bucket.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
I was going to say that tradition, if you're visiting anywhere in Japan, is you take gifts.
Yes.
So we took gifts with us. We took little koala key rings, and in each koala's paws we put a penny, an old penny.
Yeah.
And we gave one to each player and explained that this is the way we start a game in Australia. We toss a coin.
How did they do it?
They play rock, paper, scissors.
Oh.
So I guess out of politeness to us, they were tossing a coin to start the game. But then getting towards the end of our stay, they'd sort of reverted to rock, paper, scissors. Well, who knows? I mean, it may take off. I mean, they were most fascinated with the fact that it was old money that wasn't used anymore and that it had King George's head on instead of Queen Elizabeth. And, they knew about Queen Elizabeth, but they didn't know about King George.
Sure. Wow. You had a collection of these, did you?
Andrew had a jar of pennies and halfpennies out in the shed.
Right.
And he thought, I might as well put these to good use. Anyway, they were thrilled to bits, and they gave us presents. So look, it was just a wonderful experience. And then just before we left, we also went to a big tournament.
Oh, yeah.
This particular club was hosting. So there were, I think, there was a lot of pieces. There were a lot of players. There was over 100 players. They had to play on the baseball field behind us. Baseball is huge in Japan. I guess
I believe so.
It dates back to the Second World War when the Americans brought it over.
Sure.
It's absolutely massive. So they had to play on these baseball diamonds, which were tricky because, there's all these sort of bumps and mounds and everything. So it was interesting watching them trying to negotiate all these obstacles. And it was a freezing cold day and it was raining on the day of the tournament. They were all very well set up. They had big marquees. They had, all the pieces marked out. They had lots of clothes on. And it was wonderful to watch. There was some fantastic petanque. And so there were people who came from within 100-kilometre radius clubs.
So it's really ingrained in the society over there by the sound of things.
It seems to be quite a common game.
You mentioned earlier 90-year-olds turning up on bikes and things like that. So I assume then it is similar to what we experience here, where there are not a lot of youth involved in the game of petanque in Australia. Would that be a similar thing over there?
There were a few younger guys and women, around 45, but probably most of them were retirees.
Sure.
Yeah, there are a few younger players, and they tended to be very good.
Yep.
Unlike France, where we've played, where it's basically only men, We never, ever saw a woman on the piece in the south of France
Is that so?
during the time we were there. A lot of it could possibly be due to lack of toilet facilities. They only have those very basic urinals for men in some of the clubs in the south of France. In Japan, it's about 50-50, as it is in Australia.
Right. Yep.
Some of them are not as spry as they used to be. They sort of have little fold-out seats that they sit on between shots.
I can relate to this, yeah.
Similar to here, mainly older people, younger people. Of course, they're welcome to play.
Sure.
We've got a 16-year-old in our club, and we love it.
The picture you've painted there has been really excellent, and it's something you'd obviously recommend people to do, to go over and try and get a game over there.
Yeah, that's right. Pack your balls and contact the Petanque Federation of Japan before you go.
Yeah.
Just send them an email, as Andrew did, and they'll reply. We're actually thinking about in 2027, there's the World Masters Petanque Championships in Japan.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, being held just outside Osaka, I think, which isn't that far from Kyoto.
Right.
And, I mean, that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you take a whole group. Take the whole club across. That'd be good.
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
Of all the things you saw and did whilst you're in Kyoto, what was the one best thing you would take away from that?
I think the friendship, the fact that people were so welcoming.
Isn't that almost a universal thing with Petanque? We've found everybody seems to be social and nice people.
Not so much in France, Rex.
Yeah.
Where we sort of rocked up to a club and sort of very respectfully asked if we could please use their piece.
Right.
And they said, yeah, sure. So we played Petanque, but we played alongside them. We weren't invited to play with them.
I'm surprised, amazed and surprised at that.
There's the difference.
Okay.
And I think that if we had turned up uninvited to this mob in Japan, I think they would have said, hey, come and join us. And, you know, to give the French their due, you know, it was a bit cheeky of us to turn up and ask to play on their piece.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no prior arrangement. We just sort of arrived with balls in hand.
Yeah, sure. All right, Viv, thank you very, very much. I'm now very interested and I'll be doing a little bit of research and homework myself.
I think you'll have to have a holiday in Kyoto, Rick.
It sounds like the way to go. Viv, thank you very much for being here and presenting this to us. It's just been wonderful. Take care. I'll catch you on the piece sometime. Cheers.
Okay. Bye, Rex. See you later.
Found a fantastic series of short training videos on YouTube by the world champion of Petanque, Sylvain Dubreuil. The main attraction and difference with these training videos is that they go not much longer than 1 minute. By their very nature, then, they are simple and concise, yet full of excellent information. There are over 30 instalments, covering the very basics to mental agility and how to make those left and right curves on the piece, which I try to do, but very dangerously. These productions come under the Creative Commons license, so I'm able to give a sample on this platform. The series can be found in French, but there is a version with English voiceover. They are videos, and we are not. But here is a sample of what they sound like.
Do you shoot or point? As you know, in pétanque there are two options, shooting and pointing. In doublette it's very easy. There are two positions, a shooter and a pointer. In triplette, on the other hand, a third person joins the other two. His position is the middle. His particularity is he has to be as good at pointing as he is at shooting. So, how do you choose your position? Either based on your affinity, what you like to play, or based on your partner's strengths and weaknesses. The terrain can also play an important role, if it's hard or soft. What's important, once each player's roles have been defined, is to keep these positions for some time. Why? Because a certain pace is going to set in, and so improve the team's efficiency. If you're performing badly, you can change positions. The pointer can become the middle, the shooter can become the middle or the pointer, to reorganize the team in order to be better. All right, above all, choose the right partners. Come on, let's have another round.
Champagne fact number 17. We owe sabrage to Napoleon and his troops. The technique of sabrage, opening a bottle of champagne with a sword, is said to have been invented by Napoleon's troops. The story goes that they would open the bottles of champagnes with their swords to celebrate their victories. To see how this is done correctly, go to the Camberwell Petanque Club website, scroll down to club videos, click on and seek Sabring French Champagne. How about this game, which is in fact another world record? The longest Petanque marathon is 52 hours by 12 members of Guilds de Bihanche in Tournic, Luxembourg. The attempt began at 8 o'clock on the 18th and ended on 12 noon on the 20th of September. Another one. The most Petanque balls consecutively hit in 1 minute is 7 by Thierry Stacco of Venche from La Mission des Records in Paris, France, on September 5, 2001. Finally, you can play Petanque inside with this game of softballs for the interior. 10 years of research will have been necessary to reproduce the characteristics and playability of a classic game of Petanque. These indoor Petanque balls have the same diameter and the same average weight as traditional balls. The PVC coatings of these soft balls of Petanque allows them to adapt to any type of interior ground. You can play in any area of your house or apartment without the risk of damaging the floor or the furniture. The PVC used hangs slightly, which gives a good hold in the hands. These indoor soft Petanque balls play perfectly well over a distance ranging from 4 to 10 metres. The jack, in order to perfectly stabilise on the ground, has a flat side to mark the stop more easily. The features, the diameters are 72mm, they weigh 680 grams. The material has PVC casing with lining. The kit contains 6 balls, 3 light grey, 3 dark grey, and a jack. It comes in a sturdy plastic storage case with foam backing, and you can get this from the Petanque shop, that's in France, at €89. My nephew David had his ID stolen, so now he's just called Dav. Thanks for being with us again. Come back and tell a friend. Why don't you try for a world record? Let us know how you go. Check your calendar for the big dates. Check the Olympics. Have an indoors game without destroying the house. And what about a trip to Japan? Keep an eye out for the rules around the ring. And I dare you to try a sabrage of good French wine. Rex out.
You're a good man, Rex. Sick of Rex.